Very good morning and welcome to Good Morning Sri Lanka on MTV Sports. Today is a lovely Thursday morning, the 8th of November 2012, and we are just going to change a bit from our usual setting. We're not going to start off with the papers, but we have a guest in studio, as you can see. A very good morning to Dr. Channa Pereira.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. He's a judicial medical officer in the K. Gaul General Hospital, and he also specializes in consulting and working together with issues relating to gender-based violence and also child abuse.
That's right, yes.
Right. So let me just start off with what exactly your work includes.
Well, my work as a judicial medical officer includes a whole spectrum, but I think today we are going to talk mainly on the child abuse.
Right.
So we examine patients who are being abused, battered, and also as a judicial medical officer, certainly we do autopsies, but today we are not going to talk on that.
Yeah, exactly. And talking about child abuse, that is also a very vast area to cover on. If you could just touch upon the various forms of child abuse and also the procedure on how you classify something as a child abuse.
Yes, in fact, as adults, it is our duty to look after the children, and if somebody does something, an act of commission or omission, that means something which you should not do if you have done on a child, or something which you should do if you have neglected on a child, that is the basic definition of child abuse. When it comes to child abuse, of course, there are mainly four forms of child abuse, that is the physical abuse,
Right.
sexual abuse, psychological abuse, and neglect. When it comes to physical, sexual, and neglect, certainly when you get one of these abuses, you will get into the psychological abuse of the child.
Yeah.
So this is a vast area, and this is a very current topic that we should discuss. When it comes to physical abuse, the child can be battered. I mean, by using a part of the body, it may be fist, foot, or caning, or any instrument object, causing bodily harm to the child. When it comes to neglect, the child is not being given the due care, love, and food. That amounts to neglect.
Right.
The serious most part is the sexual abuse. Unfortunately, the small children are being subjected to sexual abuse mainly by the close relatives or the people who are in the child's guardianship. It may be the parents, it may be uncles, the next door neighbors, somebody from the village, sometimes the religious leaders, and also it could be even teachers.
And the main key feature in all those people is that the child actually trusts these people.
Exactly, the child trusts them, and the child believes that the so-called adult is there to protect the child. But unfortunately, when the children are being abused, especially sexually, sometimes the child may not know that the child is getting abused, because the child may not expect to these adults to abuse them. So the child may think that it's normal.
Right. So, and also talking about the procedures that we can take to prevent child abuse, if you could mention some of those as well.
Yes, first of all, if a child had been I would like to start with sexual abuse. If somebody, not only a child, even an adult, it may be adult female, it may be an adult male, or a child has been sexually abused, the first thing that they should do is, without changing their clothes, without washing, without removing any of the so-called trace material, they should either quickly go to the nearest police station or the closest government hospital.
Right.
So that we will go through the legal proceedings, we will commence the legal proceedings and perform the medico-legal examination on them, collect trace material. If and when necessary, we can even perform DNA studies. Now it is available in Sri Lanka, and we prepare a medico-legal report and submit it to courts. So the procedure is, initially, if you are being subjected to sexual assault, you can go to the police. If you are unable to go to the police, you can come to the nearest hospital, or you can call 119 or 1929 of the Child Protection Authority telephone number. And the most important thing is, don't wash yourself and don't remove your clothes. With the clothes, with whatever the available trace material, you should come to the judicial medical officer. Then we can perform an examination and give valuable evidence to court of law. And once it goes to the courts, initially to the magistrate courts, then they seek opinion from the Attorney General, then it goes to the high courts.
And also something that's very important, especially in the case of child abuse, is the process that happens afterwards, the counseling process, because of the immense psychological damage that the child may be able to face. Now, over the past years, this part has been focused more upon, and what in terms of a medical officer, what are the usual procedure that you follow after such an incident has taken place?
As I said, when a child is being subjected to any form of abuse, it may be physical, sexual or neglect, the child gets stigmatized. So they go through the psychological process of events. So it is very important for us to treat the psychological part of it, which we do not see. Because if you get injuries, we see the injuries, anybody can see the injuries, but when it comes to the psychological impact, it is only the person who is suffering feels. As doctors, we can see it indirectly. So it is extremely important to treat this psychological part, because if not, the child may get cornered. Even the worst part is the child or any person may even go for a suicidal tendency. Right. Now it's very less, because now we refer most of these children to the consultant psychiatrist for counseling, and they are being rehabilitated. Not only the victims, of course, sometimes the accused also should be rehabilitated. Not sometimes, always the accused also should be rehabilitated.
And also now rape is also something that is very closely linked with child abuse and abuses of all sorts. Now in adult rape, what are the main differences between an adult abuse case and also a child abuse case?
Yeah, when it comes to child abuse, one form of child abuse is child sexual abuse. And the serious most part of child sexual abuse is the rape, when there is a penile vaginal penetration. So apart from rape, now in late 1990s, new concept of grave sexual abuse came into our law. So in brief, what grave sexual abuse is, if somebody for a sexual gratification using his body, part of the body, or his genitalia, or even an instrument on somebody else's body or an orifice, for a sexual gratification, that amounts to a grave sexual abuse. That is, the punishment for grave sexual abuse is almost equivalent to rape.
Now that concept is something that people may not really be familiar with, and also would probably not understand that the punishment also includes imprisonment.
Exactly, yes.
And has there been, taking into account the recent past, has there been many cases of which are being classified as grave sexual abuse?
Exactly. Actually, the general public is aware of rape. They probably know what rape is, but most of the people are unaware of this grave sexual abuse. And when it comes to our day-to-day practice, we come across, children in large numbers are being produced for examination, at least 1 or 2 per day to KGOL General Hospital. So out of this, the majority of percentage is grave sexual abuse.
And also talking about the statistics in Sri Lanka, and what kind of tendencies do you see looking at the statistics? Do you see that these things are becoming more frequent, or that because of the awareness spread by it, that it's actually reducing?
Actually, if you take all violences, in the sense gender-based violence, wife battering, child abuse, mainly child sexual abuse, the percentages, the number of reporting is increasing. The number is increasing for 2 reasons. One is because since the people are aware of it, they report these cases, and also, unfortunately, due to the new technology, such as television, mobile phones, computers and internet, the world comes closer to the child. So the child can see whatever the child wants. Exactly. It's not been filtered or scrutinized. So the child may be seeing some unwanted, unnecessary programs or films the child should not see, the child may think that that is normal, and the child may try to practice that. As a result of that, as a result of the improper use of this technology, unfortunately the number has increased. So due to two reasons, number of reporting as well as improper use of this technology.
So what you're indirectly saying is that too much freedom is also definitely not good.
No, not good at all.
So and also, talking about, especially in the Sri Lankan context, about the stigma and the cultural setting that really prevents people from speaking out after such an event has occurred. Do you see a lot of this taking a toll and really, creating a barrier for this problem to be solved more effectively?
Yes, it's very common. Sometimes, of course, upon our examination, when we tell the parents that the child had been subjected to a sexual assault of any form, it may be rape, it may be grave sexual abuse, sometimes the parents are reluctant to go through these court proceedings because sometimes, unfortunately, the children are being expelled from schools, which is wrong. And also, the most unfortunate thing is the parents have to leave out their residences and even the whole village, because once the villagers get to know about it, they talk about this and they try to isolate this child. So unfortunately, our culture does not have a room for these children to be brought up in a dignified manner, but we should try our level best to overcome that.
Yes, most definitely. And Dr. Chanda, now we'll continue our discussion on child abuse and a few other topics as well. But right about now, let's take a short break. We'll be back on Good Morning Sri Lanka.